A new trailer for one of my most anticipated horror movies of the year. The Nosferatu movie by Robert Eggers adds another cast member. We say goodbye and pay our respects to a great character actor of the 90s. And we have our full review, with spoilers no doubt, of Creed 3. Welcome to the madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. I have a new pair of glasses, not that people will be able to tell because they look the exact same as my other ones.
Yes, but you do look great in a pair of glasses, Morgan.
Yay, even though the horrible glare of all the lights and things just mess up.
A little bit.
The ability to see my eyes when people are watching Monday Madness, which is a little bit unfortunate, I suppose, at the moment, unless you don't want to see my eyes, in which case you're probably celebrating every time I do wear some glasses.
Oh, goodness.
On this show. But yes, hello, how are we? How are you? How am I? We're all good, I assume.
Yes, I'm in a different locale, as you can tell. At the time of recording this, I am in LA. I'm going to be going to the Scream Experience, so I'm sure I'll have a fun video about that up on the channel this week. So perhaps you can look out for that. But yes, I'm currently in LA at the time of recording this Monday Madness. So different locale, but going to be
different location, same machine. Yay! Thumbs up, end of advertisement.
Yes.
That's how those sort of things work. I think, but yes, that's obviously very exciting. It is Scream Week, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes,
is
so
out
exciting.
This week. I assume the majority of next week's Monday Madness will be dedicated to Scream 6. I have to assume that. Really?
Oh yes, most definitely. Yes, I've kind of taken over the channel a little bit with Scream content. I've had a ton of Scream videos, reviews, Easter egg things coming out in the past few weeks, all leading up to the release of Scream 6. So super excited. And I guess we can just jump right in if you want to ask the question, because we do have some Scream things to kind of talk about.
Of course, I will ask the question. So, Jeannine.
Some Scream things are sop. I know we've had conversations where I'm kind of just popping off and getting excited, talking about or referencing the other films in the franchise. And kind of after the first one, your eyes just glaze over because you really have little to no recollection of 2 or 3. So I've been kind of getting on your case to go back and finally do a rewatch in preparation for Scream 6. So you've now kind of watched, we did a fun watch along of 1, if you want to check that out. And you've watched 2 and 3 and got a little refresher. So
yes, I did.
Yeah. So how do you feel about those, having not seen them in quite a while?
Well, yeah, in a very long time. I didn't need a refresher on Scream 1. I fairly often watch Scream 1. I know Scream 1 well, but don't know 2 and 3 well, and was definitely due a rewatch there. I have still got to watch 4, and probably I'll end up watching 5 as well before 6. But I certainly don't feel like I need to watch those 2 as much as I needed to watch 2 and 3 again. But no, definitely, obviously, knowing more from you now, I kind of get more out of Scream 2 and 3, and certainly 3, I think, because people tend to not like 3. I got a lot of fun, interesting, very weird things out of Scream 3. I mean, it does what it says on the tin, though, Scream 3, because it tells you that it's the end of a supposed trilogy, which at that point it obviously was, and that anything's on the table. Like characters in that, you get that video from Randy literally
explosions. Yeah.
literally telling you anything's fair game at the end of a trilogy. All bets are off. You don't know what's going to happen. And I think to fully embrace the Scream movies, to fully embrace Scream 3, is to realize that anything could happen in that movie. And it would have been fine because these movies don't take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
Even though they half do. This is the beauty of Scream, is they're always able to toe that line perfectly.
Yes.
And I think it did do that. I forgot Roger Corman cameoed
in
Scream 3,
talking
so
about violence in media, which is kind of a funny, I think, purposeful choice there.
Yes, obviously known for a plentiful career that Roger Corman has had, doing all sorts of craziness, including some pretty gory, nasty movies himself. 2, I really enjoyed 2 as well. I mean, I know I enjoyed these movies when I first watched them. I just barely remembered anything from them. I do think 2 is a much stronger movie than 3. I think it's also a more genuine movie. I think that's why people may fall off with 3, because it does. I think it's the silliest of all 5.
Because it's the one not written by Kevin Williamson, so it definitely has a different tone. Yeah. And there were a lot of changes because things got leaked. They had to kind of switch things up. They actually hired Matthew Lillard to come back as Stu, because they did have this whole storyline of Stu being in prison and having kind of this cult of followers who would kind of come for Sydney. So people, it's been one of my theories that potentially, with all this kind of teasing of Stu, that could potentially be something that happens in this new movie. But we'll see. But it's definitely, if it does, it's definitely something related to what the plot of 3 was going to be. But ultimately, they kind of changed it up, so it definitely has a way different tone than the other films, but still a lot of fun elements there. I think the idea of Roman, I think, is cool, but it always kind of just hurts a little bit that it's like, it kind of takes something away from Billy and Stu in having kind of someone else, some random person, kind of be the mastermind.
It does, but you've got to look at the whole series of movies. The whole series of Scream movies is still playing on tropes of those that have come before. And isn't this exactly what Halloween did?
Essentially,
making Michael, related to Laurie in that original run of movies that you just don't need. It's way more effective if he's a total nobody.
Really just this mindless, killer. Yeah. So
but
there are a lot of fun things. Yeah.
Yes, you have to go with it, understanding all that kind of stuff, really. And I think maybe at this point people just wanted a serious sequel, and I don't think it is a serious sequel. I think it's a sequel that takes the satirical nature of Scream to the next level, really. I think it's a very, very satirical movie, more so than 1 and 2 that are more genuine slashers.
Yeah.
2, I think, is a really strong movie, though. I really like, Timothy Olyphant in 2, actually, who I barely remembered. But I think he's a really strong Ghostface.
I had a hard time with him.
As the follow-up Ghostface, he's really strong.
I mean, I had a hard time with him for a long time. Like, he was kind of always lower on my killers list just because he's so obvious. Like, he literally disappears the last half of the film. But then if you kind of think about his motive, like, he wants to get caught. So, of course, he's going to be obvious. Exactly. So then when you kind of throw that into the mix, it makes you kind of understand, why he was so obvious. And he kind of, gets points for me there. So I do have a killers rankings list planned as my last video in my kind of series of Scream videos. So we'll have to see where Mickey lands on that list. But and with Scream 2, I just love the fact that it's kind of the most diverse. We have 2 we have 4 Black characters that, even though a lot of them don't have, a ton of screen time, they're still fleshed out characters with personalities and some like really memorable moments. So I love Maureen and Phil at the beginning. We get a
Yeah.
really kind of fun commentary conversation about Blacks and horror, and a fun back and forth with them. So they do feel like real characters. They're not just, there to be killed. They actually, give them a bit of personality in the little bit of time we have with them. And then Joel, just some great comic relief and the most intelligent character. Like, he's the one who pitched it. He's like, Wes, what if I just leave like halfway through the movie? Like, what if I'm just like, this, what's happening here is crazy. I'm going to leave. And Wes was like, well, how would you leave? And he's like, in a cab. And that's what he did. He actually just left in a taxi cab. But the funny thing with Joel as well is like, he comes back at the end and he's like, hey, Gail, let's get the scoop, just like in the old days. I'm like, dude, you've literally known this lady for like 2 days. What are you talking about, the old days?
Yes.
But I love Joel. And I love
Joel,
Hallie.
Joel the cameraman, and people do always talk about Kenny the cameraman because, dear sweet Kenny the cameraman, sacrificing himself, saving people, ending up getting brutally murdered, obviously. But does he have the entertainment value of Joel the cameraman from Scream 2? I don't think he does.
I mean, he's got a little bit, like when Gail is like, Jesus, hurry up. He's like, my name's not Jesus. Like, you hear these little things Kenny says in the background. He's great. But yes, I love Joel. He's great comic relief. And he's just so smart for getting the hell out of there. And Hallie is great. We get a new best friend coming in after Tatum. She's supportive. She's funny. She also was in an original script. She was actually supposed to be one of the killers. So I think that would have been a lot of fun. And they just did her dirty as well. Just like, we cut to Sydney's face and you hear them add like 5 or 6 more stab sound effects as she's getting killed. But yeah, so I love too for just kind of the great Black characters that are in there, and just being a little bit more diverse. The Mrs. Loomis twist is great. Laurie Metcalf is just having so much fun as this character, and just her pure motive, very similar to her son's, and
that really works. That twist really works. The Laurie Metcalf one.
And just the fact that she was hiding in plain sight the whole movie. You don't even think about her.
No, she doesn't cross anybody's mind.
And they try to do that with Roman, but it didn't play as well, I think.
I actually think it's because Scott Foley, isn't it? He gives off just creepy energy. I think that's why he seems.
But Laurie Metcalf is just more annoying, so you don't really give her a second glance.
Yeah, Laurie Metcalf's just someone for Gail to have an argument with in that movie. You don't think she's anything, but then she obviously turns out to be the big something. That twist works, and I think it's where Scream 3's twists or reveals or finale or whatever it is are so, or they feel so over the top. They feel so big, crazy scale compared to what we've seen in these last 2 movies that I think people may have originally been off-put by them, but like I said, when you realise that Scream 3 is actually making fun of third movies in trilogies that do that kind of thing, it makes sense, and I enjoy it for that. So yeah, I had fun with rewatching 2 and 3. Definitely.
Yay.
Definitely. So I know you're proud of me.
Yes, I am proud of you.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can fully announce this because the channel I'm doing this for hasn't announced it yet. So I can just kind of tease. I may be playing.
Do not say anything.
I may be playing someone in some Scream trivia coming up this week. So stay tuned for that. I'll promote it on, our socials and on our Patreon and all of that. So, yeah, somebody who loves Scream just as much as me. Somebody who's kind of got a big name in media at the moment.
I know who it is, so I'm not going to
Yes,
say
you do know
anything
who it is.
either.
So, but I am the reigning Scream Queen trivia person.
I think any Scream trivia you have ever done, you have won, I assume.
I have. So
it's like me with Harry Potter trivia. So anytime I've entered any sort of semi-official Harry Potter trivia night, I have won it.
Yes, because you are a pro. So, yeah, Harry Potter's your thing. Scream is definitely my thing. So maybe playing some fun Scream 5, Scream 2022 face-off trivia coming up. So that'll be fun. But yes, so excited you finally kind of revisited those two films. I think it's going to flesh out your experience. You're going to enjoy the shrine scene a little bit more, I think, because you'll now kind of
probably
yes, have a recollection of those things in that movie. But yes, excited. Scream Week, yes.
Watch us only get like 3 seconds of this shrine now in the entire
I know,
movie.
after all that.
It's barely thought of. It's just, oh, look at all this stuff new Ghostface has.
Yeah.
Isn't new Ghostface so in tune with what's happened before?
Yeah.
Yes, new Ghostface is. Who is it? We don't know. We still don't know when this is released, but we will soon.
Yes.
We will soon. And that's very exciting. Scream 6 is very exciting, but it's not necessarily all we're here to talk about today on Monday Madness. Because like I said in the intro, I did just want to take a little bit of time, as we like to on this show, to pay our respects to a recently passed on individual in the world of movies. Because this weekend, Tom Sizemore, it's announced Tom Sizemore had passed away at only 61.
Yeah, I know he had a lot of trouble with, alcohol and drug abuse and things like that. So I know he's had some struggles over the years. So, but he was able to give some great performances. Growing up for me, a movie that is little known that we did, I made sure we covered on the channel to kind of shine some light on it, was a movie I grew up with called Heart and Souls with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Is being followed by these 4 kind of ghosts, and one of them is Tom Sizemore, and he was just so lovable and like this cool kind of greaser character. And
yeah, he's great in that.
Yes, he's really great in Heart and Soul. So that was like me growing up seeing him in that movie. I would watch that movie all the time, so he was always a standout to me in that movie. And then just some great performances like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Most
well known for
for that one.
Saving Private Ryan and for Heat. And for maybe Black Hawk Down. And things like that. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Heart and Souls. I think he was really good in that. And he's one of the character actor staples of 90s movies.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis. Movies. She did a post about him, she did that cop movie Blue Steel. And like he's kind of the criminal. I think his credit is Wool Cap because he's just wearing like a beanie.
Okay.
But he's kind of the criminal that like does some stuff at the beginning to kind of set off the whole plot of the movie. So even just that small role, it was nice of her to kind of put a post about him and say, he's the character that kind of set the story in motion. And even though it was a small part, he was a professional. He did a great job, and giving him accolades for even kind of the small moments that he did in film. And an actor to take advantage of those kind of small moments. And he was great. He was great. So
he was. I mean, he was in
really sad to hear
Point
his passing.
He was in Point Break.
So,
He was in Natural Born Killers. He was in Strange Days. He was in
with Angela Bassett.
Stuff with Angela Bassett and Ralph Fiennes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he was in, what's it called? Scorsese movie. Bringing Out the Dead.
The Dead, yeah.
I'm sure he was in that as well. A staple of character acting throughout the 90s. As we've said, it's a sad loss for the movie world. And yes, go and watch one of his movies. Go and watch either one of his great movies, truly great movies.
Yes, watch Heart and Souls. It's very sweet.
But watch Heart and Souls is what I would say. Yes, watch Heart and Souls. So yes, rest in peace, Tom Sizemore.
Yeah.
And yes, all the power there. So
yes,
there you go. All the power there. That doesn't make sense, does it? But you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. We did have some casting news as well that I did want to talk about, because Robert Eggers' Nosferatu movie, which naturally I'm dreadfully excited about, not only because it's a Nosferatu movie, not only because it's a Robert Eggers movie, but it's because they're doing it. It's all one. It's just one movie. It's Robert Eggers and it's Nosferatu. And, you know, Eggers hasn't, depending on what you think of the Lighthouse's genre, Eggers hasn't done a horror movie since The Witch. Because really, is The Lighthouse a horror movie? I think it's more of just a trip. You know, it's not really a horror movie. The Northman,
I have yet to watch that because I'm kind of like, I need to watch that with you.
Kind
of. I'm kind of like...
But yeah, the Northman certainly isn't a horror movie. It's a Viking epic.
Yeah.
It's got weird elements in there. It's got mysticism in there and magic and some horror elements, sure, but as is the Lighthouse. Nosferatu, he's redoing Nosferatu. He's reimagining Nosferatu. This is due out next year. This is due out in 2024. It's added Aaron Taylor Johnson to the cast. I don't know who he's playing, but I like this casting because Aaron Taylor Johnson is able to completely transform himself to become a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Eggers likes in his movies. Look at what Alexander Skarsgård did.
Yes. Let's make
attractive
people
in the Northman.
Let's make conventionally attractive people weird, and I love it.
But Skarsgård in the Northman turned into some sort of wolf creature rather than a human being. You know, he grunts through that entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's Bill Skarsgård playing the Count in Nosferatu, which is pretty nailed on casting, really.
Oh, yes. He's built this very well-made horror legacy, transformative kind of actor type energy for himself. So,
and I know we have got other confirmed casting for this movie too, as well as I know Anya Taylor-Joy is rumored, I think, still at this point to be in the movie. I don't think that's confirmed. That would be her third time working with him. He's obviously only made, this would only be his fourth movie. Willem Dafoe, I think, is confirmed for his third time working with Eggers. I'm not sure who necessarily these people are playing, but I think who is playing Hutter, which is the Jonathan Harker character of Nosferatu, I think it's Nicholas Hoult. I know Nicholas Hoult is confirmed in that movie. I think it's Nicholas Hoult.
He's just all about vampires.
He's all about Dracula at the minute, apparently, isn't he? Because he's in Renfield.
I mean, but I feel bad, but all these people used to kind of say, why didn't they just use Willem Dafoe's face instead of this crazy mask in Spider-Man, since he looks like a goblin?
He does look like a goblin,
I'm surprised people aren't like, well, why isn't he just Nosferatu?
He wasn't he? He was Nosferatu.
Right? Yeah.
He was Nosferatu in, what's it called? Is it called like Shadow of the Vampire or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Where he plays Max Schreck, who played Nosferatu in 22. So maybe it's just
So maybe it's just a bit of stunt casting, perhaps?
Possibly, but also, is it not just Eggers casting? Because why wouldn't Dafoe work with Eggers
Let he
for a third
work with him
time?
again. Yeah.
But why also wouldn't Willem Dafoe come back into a Nosferatu movie? A
Yeah.
Nosferatu-based
The layers.
movie?
The layers.
All the layers. I think Lily Rose Depp's in the movie as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's got an interesting little
Yeah, it's got a
cast
pretty
to it.
interesting mix. Yeah, I'm curious to see it.
I
Yeah.
am fascinated by the movie. I like Nosferatu anyway. I really do find an awful lot to appreciate in Murnau's Nosferatu. I think this will be a wonderful reimagining.
Yeah.
Stylistically, I don't know how it's going to play because you know what Eggers movies are like.
Yes,
they are
they're
ridiculously
just
authentic,
trippy, and very much his unique style, and something we rarely see. It's very kind of specific to him, and very dreamlike.
Yeah,
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's going to be interesting, but I like the casting of Aaron Taylor Johnson just to
Yeah,
add to
I think
that
he
movie,
fits.
to add to
He
these
he fits in
bunch.
that world. I can see him fitting in something like that. So
Yes.
yeah, very cool.
And we also do have a trailer for a movie, a
Yes.
horror movie, one of my most anticipated horror movies that I did bring up in what might have been the first episode of Monday Madness we did of 2020.
Yeah, I think we did our anticipated movies of the year of 2023. So
and I remember actually at that point just having the tagline to go off for
yeah.
this movie. I knew nothing about this movie other than the tagline and its title, and was sold on that. And I'm even more sold now that this trailer's come out, because this is The Blackening.
Yes.
Set to be released, I assume, just in the US in June.
Yeah.
God knows when the UK will get this movie. I have no idea. I would hope it's at the same time, but with these kind of things, it
You might have
hardly
to.
ever is.
You might have to get a VPN or something.
Who knows? It's not a streaming movie; it's a theatrical movie. But it just looks like, we've spoke about Scream as obviously wonderful satirical horror. This is real
So fun.
comedy horror. This is perfect looking comedy horror that is making fun of everything whilst feeling, and I think this trailer does feel like a genuinely tense movie, but you know full well it's going to be hilarious. There's so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, playing with that whole kind of trope that's been a thing for years that I think, has been somewhat dispelled, that, the black dude dies first. But when everybody's black, like, how does that play? What is this game? Who is after them? Why are they after them? The dynamic of the friend group is really funny. They kind of tease one of the guys because he's married to a white woman. Who's the blackest? What factors kind of make you the most black? So just some funny kind of things like that in there really had me cracking up. And as it says in my caption, black excellence. So it looks like a lot of fun. And it's horror, and it's horror comedy. So I'm really excited. The trailer was really hilarious. So
it seems to take. It does. It seems to take influences from Evil Dead. It seems to take influences from, weirdly, something like Jumanji, because there's this game that the characters are playing, that the game itself is called
it's
The
kind of
Blackening.
causing
it's
things,
a board game,
to
a card
happen.
game.
Yeah.
Yet it also seems to take influence from Saw, in the fact that someone on a old
screen,
television screen, on
telling
a
you,
crackly TV screen, speaking to you, filming something with a handheld camera. Filming the torture of someone else with a handheld camera and saying, you got to decide what happens here.
Yeah.
Wearing a mask. being creepy. I like its influences.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really, as long as it doesn't go too silly with the comedy.
Like spoofy, yeah.
Not even spoofy. I don't mind if it's spoofy, but I don't want it to come across, for example, like the latest Black Christmas. Was it 2019 that we covered? When did we cover that? It was on a Morgan Hasn't Seen. It was last Halloween for Morgan Hasn't Seen. 2019's Black Christmas that had such good intentions, but such an overzealous
kind of message about
execution.
The execution of the message was just way kind of overboard.
Way overboard.
Very heavy-handed. Yeah.
I don't want this to be that. I don't think it will be that.
No, I mean, the comedy we got in the trailer, I think, was really great, really funny, really relatable. And so I hope they kind of stick with that tone.
Yeah. I want it to be able. I almost want it to be able to offend people if it want, and and not try and be too clean. And I don't think it is going to be.
Yeah.
I want it to,
not kind
grab
of
people in the face and
go, and not be afraid to offend people a little bit. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Isn't the best kind of comedy those that aren't afraid, that isn't offensive, but because of the undertones to it, but they're not necessarily safe. I mean, we spoke about on last week's main show, Car Wash, with Richard Pryor and George Carlin, with cameos in that movie. Comedians, wonderful comedians who were not in any way offensive, but used such what you would consider offensive language and offensive terms. But the context of it, the undertone of it was never ultimately came across.
Never lost that kind of fun of what they were trying to do. Yeah.
Or never crossed the seriousness of what they were actually trying to say either.
Yeah, like they had some messages in there without kind of giving up the comedy and without being heavy-handed and preachy.
Yeah. It's what I want this movie to do. It's what I think this movie is looking like it's going to do. I'm very excited.
Yes, it looks like a lot of fun. It looks hilarious.
I think it's been released in June, actually, isn't it? It's coinciding with Juneteenth.
Yes, because that's why they're kind of having this weekend away, this friend group celebrating Juneteenth. Yeah.
Yes. So that makes sense. And whether it will also be released here in Britain at that point, it remains to be seen, I think. Doubtful, very doubtful. I'm hoping so. So. I mean, having said that, it's only next week that I'm able to go to the cinema to watch Pearl. So
yes, so ridiculous.
Look how long ridiculous.
It's already out on Blu-ray, already on streaming.
Yeah. It's silly. It is silly.
So sad.
But there you go. I'm excited for that. I very much am. Yes, though, Jeannine. I think we're going to deal in a shorter show today.
Yes.
Because you're in LA, you have fun things to do, and places to be, and things to see, and exciting situations ahead. But let's just get into our Let's Talk, I think.
Okay.
Today, which is, of course, here it is. I would say spoilers ahead, really. Although, how can you really spoil? Well, there's, I suppose, a few elements you could theoretically spoil, but this is one of these movies.
I mean, the trailer kind of tells you the trajectory of where the story's going to go. Yeah.
Yes, you kind of know what's going to happen here, don't you? Let's get into our full spoiler review of Creed 3.
Yes.
Now, I would like to open by just saying I'm so thankful for the Creed movies that there's only been 3 of them since 2015.
Yes.
Because as soon as the new one comes out, you realize that, like, oh yeah, Creed movies, they're good.
Yeah, they gave us some time to miss it, to want to anticipate it. It wasn't kind of this rushed back to back to back to back kind of release. Like, they
No,
were very spread
wise.
out. They were very spread out. We took time to kind of miss these characters a little bit and then get back into it. So, and I was glad I had time to kind of do a Creed little rewatch before going into this movie so I could kind of remember where these characters were. Really disappointing to have this whole kind of dispute happening with the character of Rocky and the rights to Rocky, so that, you know, Stallone very much is kind of not wanting to be a part of that if he doesn't have kind of full ownership of the character and things like that.
Yeah,
But I think, and I hope it's nothing between him and Michael B. Jordan, because, you know, I think
I doubt it is.
I would doubt it is. I think it's more just kind of the producers who own the rights and this whole kind of dispute. So
Because, you know,
that
let's not forget Stallone. You know, Rocky is entirely Stallone's creation. Stallone wrote Rocky.
exactly. Yes. Yes. So I mean, I think working within that boundary of not having Rocky there, I think they were able to still craft a great story. I think, um, you know, even kind of watching two before going into three, they set it up really well that Rocky's kind of living his own life. By the end of two, he's
Yeah,
reconciled with his son
yeah,
and all of that. So, you know, it makes sense. You know, he's kind of with his family and trying to figure things out, a very difficult relationship with his son and working on that. And, you know, they very much set him up as somebody, you know, who, you know, he's in Philadelphia. That's his home. He's not somebody who's really going to be traveling a lot. He's older now than he was even in the movies that kind of portrayed the past movies that portrayed him as old.
yeah.
So, you know,
Even
it all makes
Rocky Balboa portrayed him as old, and that was nearly
yeah, right.
20 years ago.
Many years before all of this. So I liked kind of having that refresher to remind me that they do set up Rocky really well to make sense that he's kind of dealing with his own things, and it would make sense that, you know, um, Adonis is in LA doing kind of his thing and thriving, and it's been years since, you know, he's fought. You know, he's doing this retirement match, and then now a couple years have passed since that. Um, so kind of getting to see how Rocky's story closed out into it worked for where they went with this story, and I think they really kind of used that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I while I would have loved to see him, I think they made it make sense why he wasn't there. So I liked that.
They did, and I think there was still there's always going to be enough past franchise, past movie series elements in a new movie, a new Creed movie, for you to realize the universe it's in. You know, they
Yeah.
still talk about Rocky. His name is still mentioned in the
Yeah.
movie.
And
You know,
Apollo and everything. You know,
Apollo
that's
was
still a
all
huge part of
over
that.
these
Yeah.
movies. Still, he's you know, his influence, Apollo's influence is still a massive part, even though obviously Adonis never knew Apollo.
Yeah.
You know, he's still a massive part of the mindset of a lot of characters in these movies.
Yeah.
And obviously, and Drago comes back into, you know, Drago
Yeah.
Jr. comes back in this movie. He's Drago Jr. That's what he is. Who, I mean, in Creed 2, I enjoyed Creed 2. I don't think Creed 2's anywhere near as strong as the first movie or this movie.
Yeah.
I think Creed 3 is a really, really wonderful movie. I think a lot of it hinges on your central
kind of conflict.
character conflict. It
Yeah.
does, and the real personal element to that. We'll get into that because it's so strong. But it's nice to have, because the Rocky movies have always done this, had previous. I mean, look at what even Apollo did in Rocky 3. Apollo comes, oh, you're my big rival, Rocky, you know, and all this. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'll train you now. Let's have a run on the beach and a dance in the sea with each other.
Dance in the sea. Yeah.
That's what they do. They
I
dance
know,
in the sea with
essentially.
each other. They might as well have held each other's hands and skipped
their cute
along the
little
beach together.
primary colored outfits.
It's ridiculous, but
Yeah.
it's great. You know, former rivals coming to help train.
Yes, I like
For a
Drago kind
new
of
fight, and you get
coming
that with
back and that
Drago
helpful.
Jr.
Yeah, I like that. And I think there was a cut scene even as well that, like, Creed goes to his dressing room and they kind of have a moment together, um, kind of working things out after the fight, but they cut that. So I
Oh, in
think there
Creed
was
2, you mean?
yes. So I think there was an
Ah,
idea to have them kind of make peace with each other. So um, getting to kind of see that in this movie, I think was really nice. My
yeah,
one, like, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it looked great. I think it's a great, job for Michael B. Jordan. He said he was definitely inspired by Ryan Coogler to see someone kind of from the same place as him,
yeah,
someone kind of the same age as him, having a vision and really being able to execute things and be such a brilliant director really inspired him. And you see that, like, he definitely puts his own style on it. I love kind of his anime inspiration in terms of how he's going to do the fight scenes, because you can watch a million fight scenes in boxing movies and they all kind of have very similar things happening. So to kind of bring this unique kind of style to it,
yes.
and really call out and put shine a light on anime and the great style of that genre, and take that as inspiration, because I think a lot of things also do take inspiration from anime but don't really credit it. um I think it gave us some really cool visuals that, just to set it apart from so many boxing movies that feel very much kind of similar in terms of their fight scenes.
Yeah, and I
So he
think
has a great visual kind of mind. And it was great to see that from his first time. But my one criticism, I think, because I really enjoyed this movie, I was very kind of on the edge of my seat, tense, freaking out, like, what's gonna happen? Oh no, I don't like this. Like, even when you kind of know where it's probably gonna end up. But the
this
one
is the
thing,
beauty of
yes,
Rocky movies, Rocky Creed movies.
you
They're
still feel
so
that stress.
obvious as to what's going to happen. They're so obvious as to how things
Yeah.
are going to end, but they're so great at emotional manipulation. They are
Yes.
perfect at it.
It's
Every
still so
single
tense.
goddamn time, you end up with
But
tears in your eyes at the end. Every
yes,
single
every
movie,
time. But yeah, my
apart from
one
Rocky
criticism is the
Five.
fact that, like, this conflict is kind of the crux. Yeah. This conflict is the crux of the film. It's the big thing. It's these great kind of titan actors kind of coming at each other, and the twist of Damien's deception and all of that. But it only kind of plays in that pool for a very short time before jumping into the fight. I wish we would have sat with Damien's kind of manipulation and the rivalry and the anger between the two of them. I wish we would have, Creed's on a show and Damien's calling in talking shit about him. Like, I wish we would have sat in the buildup of this kind of tension back and forth for a little bit longer. It just was like, you know, the betrayal happens. Damien, reveals who he really is. They kind of have these back and forths, and then the fight happens, and then we get our
Not
training,
that,
and the
not
fight
that,
happens. I just
not that.
wanted
By the way,
more of
Damien
that dynamic.
isn't Damien. It's like you saying Damien reveals who he is. He's like, aha,
No,
I'm
well,
not
I mean,
Damien at all. I'm
no,
your father. Take off
I
my
mean,
mask.
you know what? You know it.
I do know what you mean. Yes, I do.
Like, and then, like, Duke could tell the whole time that he has this kind of grudge against the world. But, I mean, revealing his true kind of motivations
Yes.
to Creed, and Creed being blinded by his guilt to really kind of see that. Because it's pretty obvious, but because he has that guilt he's dealing with, he doesn't allow himself to see it. So I loved all of that. I just wanted to sit with Damien being the antagonist directly to Creed once that all that kind of is revealed, his part in rigging his spot and all of that. I wanted to sit with that a little bit longer and see these two great actors kind of really build up the anger, so that when we went into this final fight, it would have felt even more aggressive, more stakes, more just kind of like, tough and more difficult. But I felt like they kind of just rushed past the conflict a little too fast, and then we went into training montage and fight.
I don't disagree. I do think the very confrontational scenes we do get, although, like you said, they're somewhat limited. You know, the phone in when
I
Adonis
think we
goes on
pretty much
to
just get the phone
Stephen A.
in.
Smith's show.
We get the
Well,
phone in, we get the beach scene, and that's like all we get.
yes,
And
yes,
we do,
that's all
they
we get
allude to the
on
fact,
direct
yes, and
conflict.
we allude to the fact that when he's on the show, the host is kind of saying he's been all through the news saying all these things about you, and we didn't see any of that. Why not have us see him kind of going around telling the story of their youth, you know, really trying to damage his name, people like not maybe wanting to come to the gym or leaving to side with Damien or things like that, you know, just to really build up, you know, Damien really kind of trying to shit on Creed's legacy on top of antagonizing him, on top of, you know, trying to strip away his good name and all of the, you know, I really wish we would have just gotten more of this kind of contention between the two of them once Damien really kind of shows his true colors fully to Creed.
Like I said, I don't disagree. And what you say, I mean, we could have had a montage of Damien going around, you know, talking all this, whatever, on Adonis to a bunch of people. And that could have taken 2 minutes of time, 90 seconds of time of the movie, if it was a montage, a well-edited montage. And I think you would have felt that much more if we'd had have got something like that. And it doesn't need to take so much
time away. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All I would say is that the scenes we do get of the direct confrontation, that beach scene, that phoning scene, I think work really well. I think are still very, very effective. Very, very tough for Adonis in particular, not really for Damien. Damien's the one antagonizing on the whole situation.
Yeah.
Damien being Jonathan Majors. But I almost feel like the ending of the movie, how do you word it? The reconciliation, as it were, after your final fight. You know how these movies are structured. There's a big final fight between Adonis and Damien at the end of the movie. Let's punch each other and, you know, end up okay with each other in the end. Because there is that reconciliation at the end. There's the, you know, you understand, there's the understanding that in the future, in the near future, after this movie is finished and potentially in a potential Creed 4, that I don't think we've got any news or indication of anything like that at all.
No.
But that, you know, that Damien would be welcome and friendly with the Creed.
Oh no, I actually think I did see an interview where somebody asked him if there's going to be more Creed things, and he said yes.
I would assume there is
much about it now.
Yeah, so, I would assume there is. But, you know, the ending reconciliation with Damien and the obvious likelihood.
Yeah, him taking accountability for his part in things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I think that would have felt too easy had we gotten more antagonistic behavior within the movie from Damien than we did anyway. I think we got just enough to understand that really Damien's just messed up in his own head because of what's happened anyway. He blames Adonis for everything. And what this is, by the way, for you know, those who haven't watched the movie but are watching a spoiler review of the movie, listening to it, is there was Adonis and Damien, Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors grew up in you know, in this world, in the world of the movie before Adonis knew who he was. You know, before Adonis knew he was Apollo Creed's son and all this business, they spent some time in a group home, like a foster home situation, by the sounds of it. And the leader of the foster home was a incredibly evil man by all accounts, who beat them.
Yes.
And they get a little bit older. You know, Adonis is with Mama Creed,
Yeah.
now as we like to refer to her. But Damien's still his friend. Mama Creed doesn't like Damien at all.
Yes, she feels like he's just a bad part of his past, a bad influence.
But they are still friends, and they're good boxers. So, you know, they go to these kind of underground boxing matches.
Fights, and Damien is great. Yeah,
Damien's a great boxer. We see this
he kind of outlines. He outlines his whole plan of, like, you know, he wants to go pro and all of these things, and
go to the Olympics. The opening of the movie tells us all this. The opening of the movie is in their childhoods, their teenage years. And that it's a really great way, I think, of opening this movie, because, like we say, the entire movie, really, the crux of the entire movie, the emotion of the entire movie is built upon the relationship between the two of them. So, of course, we open by learning the beginnings of the relationship between the two of them to get where we are for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
It's a really great opening, and I've now forgotten what my point was. Entirely forgotten what my point was.
Well, I think it was just kind of not a counter, but just another perspective on what I was saying about my criticism of not building up the tension enough, and you thinking that, had they done it more, it would have been tougher to sell the reconciliation, I think.
Correct. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yes. In summary, I think it would have been. I think it would have felt too easy. Like, oh, what? You're okay now? What about all that stuff you were saying about me that we saw half an hour ago in the movie? Damien, we're supposed to be okay now. Would have felt like that. And I like that. I like that the reconciliation works. And I think it only works because we only saw some of Damien's vitriol against Adonis.
But I think, Jonathan Majors is an amazing actor. I think he definitely could have played it where, you see him doing all of this lashing out, and you could see him doing it and kind of turning away from a camera and, having a pained face or a tear welling up in his eye or something to sell that, like, this is all coming from a place of just lashing out, of not wanting to take responsibility and pain. And, I wanted to feel that a little bit more than I did. And I know Jonathan Majors is capable of that. So selling it more from this kind of cocky place and less from a more like pained place, I think I wanted it to feel more like that. And I think I got a little bit of that, but I think I wanted maybe a little bit more of that to really heighten the because I was already kind of stressed on this fight, but I think I would have maybe felt even more had we felt this kind of angry regret a little bit more. I just needed a little bit more from all of that.
I think that is what makes Damien such a great character, though. Because he's not just being nasty for the sake of being nasty. He's got real motivation behind him.
Yes.
To do what he's doing in this movie. He's been in prison.
And they set that up really well. So even though I didn't see kind of as much of it as I wanted, they sold it enough in the beginning in their story that, I felt that. I felt, his true motivations and his true kind of feelings. I think I just wanted to see it more in the later side of the film.
Yeah, but you can also feel that they still would, be friendly with each other. They still kind of,
once they kind of got this out of their system and face their part in the whole conflict.
Yeah, I mean, not even at the end of the movie. During the build-up of the movie, kind of when you first meet Damien, and they go out for that lunch, and Damien first comes around to the house to meet Tessa Thompson. Hi, Tessa, by the way. That's what my caption is today. This is my poor attempt at getting Tessa Thompson's attention, as I'm often trying to do. No. but she, you know, he comes round to the house and meets, you know, his family. He gets invited to Bianca's music event.
Yeah.
They, you know, he invited to the gym, and yes, Duke, little Duke, as he's referred to, because he's not Big Duke. You know, no more Big Duke. That's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like Duke, the original Duke. I like
the damn towel.
Well. Yes, we like original Duke. We like both Dukes.
Yes.
But you feel...
Sorry, that's like my favorite line delivery.
It's so extreme. It's throw
the damn towel.
It's so over the top. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Rocky IV.
Yeah.
But you feel that there is semblances of a friendship there, even though from Damien's point of view, it's kind of all being faked a little bit.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but he obviously has his selfish motivation.
Yes.
So I like that. I like that, and I like that I can believe that reconciliation at the end. But I don't disagree with that whole point, and I think that's brought a really great conversation about this movie. I did want to mention as well the fighting that you said anime influenced fight scenes in this movie.
That kind of final fight when the whole audience
this final fight
and this focus on the two of them and the visuals of the bars and all these kinds of, you know, elements kind of coming in and them seeing each other as their teenage selves, and, you know, the whole kind of visual cues and visual interest kind of happening in this final fight, I think was really cool.
Now, I've no knowledge at all of anime, really. You have. I had no idea this was anime based at all, but I was blown away by this final fight in how, I mean, you just don't think. You think of, you know, the final fight in the Rocky Creed movies as being structurally always pretty similar to one another.
Yes, I mean, back to back, watching two Creed movies back to back, literally the fights go, one person's doing really well, then another person kind of comes in and does a little bit, then another person's doing really well, then somebody's not doing well, and you don't know how it's going to go. This fight, I loved that both of them were just like on the same level, hitting each other back and forth, so you really had no idea where it was going to go.
Yeah.
Because most of the fights have one person kind of always leading, and then your underdog kind of comes in and does damage. This fight had them both toe-to-toe, head-to-head, face-to-face, getting licks and hits in all at the same time.
It's because there's no real underdog to this fight. And there usually always is. You think about let's go through the Rocky movies. In Rocky, obviously Rocky's the underdog. In Rocky 2, Rocky's still kind of the underdog. Rocky 3, I think, is the exception, and that's where I want to bring my point in. Rocky 4, Rocky's the underdog.
Yeah.
Rocky 5 doesn't have a fight because it's a weird movie. Rocky Balboa, Rocky's the underdog.
He's the underdog.
Creed 1, Adonis is the underdog. Creed 2, oh no, Drago Jr. this time.
Yeah.
Adonis is the underdog again. Mm-hmm. Their third movies are very, very similar. Because Damien's the closest thing we have to Clubber Lang in terms of they're just toe-to-toe with each other. He's just one's quite mouthy and one's quite quiet.
Yeah.
There's not much shouting. You don't get much. When you do get Adonis kind of exploding a little bit because he's bottled all these feelings.
Yeah, I love kind of
he's bottled these stories up. There's serious emotion there. You feel it watching that you don't want to see Adonis like this because he's never been like this.
No, yes, I love that we get a bit of kind of a mental health crisis with him in terms of him just bottling up emotions and not being able to talk about things and kind of hiding past traumas, and Bianca just wanting to talk to him about it so she can, and she's like literally saying it, I just want to talk to you so I can understand you and I can understand what you're going through. And he immediately kind of goes to this place, kind of reverting back to who he was at the beginning as a child, just constantly fighting, constantly being angry, lashing out. That, you know, why do you want to hear this? So you can pity me and feel sorry for me? And she's like, no.
No, you
So
idiot.
yeah,
Slap.
so I love that, you know,
Slapping.
on top of, yes, on top of the guilt he feels about Damien, on top of the layers of that, we're also getting kind of the trauma of what he went through and kind of what drove him to attack Leon, the man of the group home, who attacked, you know, that is kind of the kicking off point between the conflict between him and Damien and what happened in their youth. So I like that added element of not only, you know, does he feel kind of betrayed by Damien, he feels guilt for kind of maybe creating this version of Damien.
Yeah, that's what my
on
point was
top
going to be
of
before.
on top of kind of the trauma that he's been kind of hiding about what happened to him in that group home. So layers of kind of emotional trauma really built up. And I like that they took a moment to not just focus on the Damien issue, but kind of his own personal trauma as well.
I've just realized when I forgot before, I was just going to tell the story as to who Leon was and how Damien ended up in prison because Adonis beat up Leon and then Damien pulled a gun, and that's why.
And yes, and Damien got caught with the gun, arrested, and Adonis ran away and was able to get away. And Damien wrote letters to him and tried to keep contact with him, but he never got them because Marianne, Mama Creed, hid them because she did not want him going back to that life. She didn't trust Damien.
Not nice,
so,
Mama Creed. Though,
yeah, so she hid Damien's
friends.
letters from him. So it just seemed like, but even, you know, Damien didn't, or Adonis didn't really do anything on his part to even reach out to Damien.
No.
So he feels a lot of guilt about that as well. Not just the running, but the fact that he kind of just tried to forget him and forget that even happened, forget that part of his life. And then obviously, you know, it was easier for him to do that without having to see any of those letters that Damien wrote him. So I like that that's also kind of a part of his apology by the end of the movie, that he's very much like, I'm sorry I never reached out. I'm sorry I tried to like act like, you know, I forgot you. And that was kind of part of his guilt as well. So they set things up really well. Great character moments, really great conflict. Like I said, I did want a little bit more from that, or I just wanted it to kind of stretch out a little bit longer before the fight. Really, I think the conflict was well done. I just kind of wanted it to be a little bit more stretched out before kind of the big fight. But well directed, great job to Michael B. Jordan. So we haven't talked much about Tessa Thompson in this movie. Getting to watch the first two films again, just kind of right before, I remember kind of this great conflict with her and her whole hearing loss issues and that kind of playing into her own kind of personal fight, which kind of was something that really bonded her and Adonis. So I like that we're still getting to see her honesty in the fact that, you know, she has that really honest moment, and even Damien kind of tapping into that.
He does.
Yeah, in terms of kind of like, you know, must be difficult for you to see someone else singing your song and trying to relate to her on that level, because he's kind of dealing with it. It must be hard seeing Donnie living the life that you could have lived.
Yes.
So he very much is able to tap into that feeling and kind of make her think about it. But I like that she can kind of deal with it in an honest way, whereas Donnie really can't face, you know, the things that like really stress him and hurt him. She can, you know, and she gives him that insight. She's like, of course, you know, it's hard for me to see other people sing my songs and that I can't perform and all of these things. But I chose to, instead of kind of wallowing in it or closing myself off from those feelings, to focus on the things that I do have. And it's difficult, but I do it. So I like her kind of tapping into her own personal fight and her own personal struggles and being honest with him and making him realize that he needs to kind of be honest about his own emotions as well, and using kind of her personal thing. And loved getting to see, you know, their daughter being deaf and them, you know, having the sign language and all of that, and that being a real kind of incorporated thing into this movie. And you know, great deaf representation, and you know, because that was, yes, because I mean, in watching Creed 2 and seeing the fear of them giving her that test, and them kind of having these tears once they realized that she was probably going to be deaf, and Rocky telling him, you know, and you see that again with Donnie in that moment where he doesn't want to think about the worst case scenario of her maybe not being able to hear, and that kind of just being a hard thing for parents, that their kid isn't perfect, you know. And him not wanting to face that, like the doctors are telling him, you know, there's other tests they can run, she's still young. And Rocky kind of tells him, well, what if not everything is all right? And he's like, I can't think like that, I don't want to think like that. And Rocky kind of just saying to him, if things don't go right, are you still gonna love her? Of course you're still gonna love her, so that's all that matters. So, you know, I love that kind of seeing that, just, you know, she's deaf, they've learned sign language, they're living their life and happy. And the fact that she kind of has this drive to be a fighter as well. She was really cute, and loved her relationship with him, and her kind of sneaking it and hiding it, like the fact that she wanted to fight, and him really, you know, obviously being in support of that, and them, you know, her in school and dealing with wanting to fight to solve her problems, and you know, getting that whole kind of side of their daughter's story playing into this. You know, when you have so much other things going on, I think they worked their family dynamic story in really well, with kind of what Bianca's dealing with, what their daughter kind of, how she's developing, and all of that.
Absolutely. I think she's a wonderful, because obviously we didn't get a child in the last movie, did we? We have a child now. And she's like 6, 7-ish by the
7-ish, I'd say, yeah.
You know, by the looks of it. It's a wonderful relationship. It is a wonderful family dynamic, like you said. Speaking about Bianca, speaking about Tessa Thompson, as you said, this is what I like so much about her as a character, and what Tessa Thompson does with Bianca, is that she's just so very honest about herself. She's very, very aware of her own, I was going to say aware of her own mortality then, but I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I mean aware of her own situation, aware of her own disability to an extent.
Yes. And where it's going to go, and how far
and where
it's going
to go.
Yeah.
And to have that dynamic with Adonis, who is a bottler, not in terms of he bottles big chances, I mean in terms of he bottles things up.
Yeah.
He bottles things up. He does not express his emotions particularly brilliantly.
Yeah.
And she always does. She is an absolute angel for him, really. Especially given the fact Rocky's not in this movie. Because I think this is what has been the case with Adonis, is that he's had either Rocky telling him truths, Bianca also telling him some truths, but Bianca has taken obviously this far more central role now as a wife of some years at this point in the story, to be, you know, this entirely, and oh my God, she's a wonderful character in her own right. But as far as Adonis, you know, Adonis's story goes, she is so valuable to him as a human presence that he could never do without her. He could never do without her, because he would go off the rails. He needs
that balance of her. He needs somebody who's going to be honest with him, and
but not just people who can be honest with him, but who can tell him what he needs to hear because he has no idea what he needs to hear.
Yeah, and give him that perspective that he's missing,
Yeah,
because she's somebody who's fighting her own fight, and so he needs someone, she can relate to him on that level of kind of having this inner battle,
but
with something.
The battles we have seen her have, and to an extent that's continued in this movie, it's really, I think, bogged down to Damien tapping into a little bit of, as you said, doesn't it hurt to see someone else sing your song?
Yeah.
And she thinks about it for like 2 seconds before going, do you know what? No, not now. It's fine. I made the choice. I'm not going to, I don't want to be deaf. I don't want to lose my hearing. So this is the choice I made. I'm happy with this choice. And he doesn't exactly turn around and go, yeah, sure, Bianca, that's the choice you made. Great. He's understanding about it. There's no confrontation there. It's very, very genuine and very, very human.
And he sees, he's trying to see his struggle in somebody else,
and it's not there.
That's his focused mindset is you must be jealous. You must be seeing someone living out what you should have had. And that's kind of
not there.
That's his central focus. And so he's trying to maybe validate that by getting her to kind of admit that she feels something similar in that moment,
But she is wonderful in this movie. Again, Tessa Thompson's just doing great things. And I'll just say hi, Tessa, again. But she's great in this movie. I don't know the girl's name who plays the daughter, but she's really good as well.
She's so good. Yeah, I love her kind of watching the fight and hiding it and pretending like she's not.
It's a very, very cute relationship, like you say.
The little tea party at the beginning.
Yes. It brings
I like seeing the girl dad moments. Yeah.
It brings so much heart. It brings so much heart to this movie. And this is something that the Rocky Creed movies have always had. That this movie series has always had, is just a phenomenal amount of heart. I mean, Rocky Balboa literally built his entire career over having more heart than the guy who had more power. That was Rocky's whole thing, and it carries on. It carries on into the Creed movies, not in the same way, but in different ways, in influential ways, and I like that about them. I love that about this movie. As we spoke about before, that this final fight is, I think, the closest thing we get to Rocky versus Clubber Lang, that feels so toe-to-toe and so
head-to-head
away, rather than the Apollo and Drago fights in the Rocky movies that are just very beat Rocky down, beat Rocky down, beat Rocky down. Oh, Rocky
comes back
at you, he comes back at you, and then he ends up winning. But not Rocky One. I know it does it, doesn't it? It does it. The annoying emotional manipulation of this goddamn movie to throw the few little bars. The end of Rocky 2. The end of Rocky 2 that always makes me cry like a little girl.
Yes, I love it. They use the kind of Rocky themed moments really well, I think. Throughout the Creed movies, I think, in general, they've used those kind of signature Rocky score moments.
I don't think people won't know this. I can't physically watch Rocky 2 because it makes me cry.
Oh, now I have to watch
at the end of Rocky 2.
So we're doing a watch along.
The emotional manipulation of Rocky 2 is unlike anything else.
Yeah, it's
strong. The music, and it is the music. Yeah. And they threw it into this movie, and I wasn't expecting them to throw it into this movie. And it got me. It got me right at the end of it. And it shouldn't have got me. You know what's going to happen.
Yes. And the fact, like, I was still feeling the tension of this fight, of this back and forth, even of just him learning the truth about things and his mom kind of revealing things to him and all of that, I was just very much like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Oh my gosh, I don't like this. Like,
and
when you knew kind of what Damien did to manipulate to get that title shot, I was like, oh my gosh, the fallout, with his guy that he's been backing, and his fallout with Duke for not listening, and like I'm thinking about all of these scenarios of like what is going to happen knowing what Damien did to get this fight, and I'm like stressing about that in that moment, and then at the end I'm stressing about, oh my gosh, this fight, and they're going face head to head, and like nobody's kind of gaining any ground. Like I was feeling all of the emotions. I was tense this whole time.
I don't even know whether it's a sports movie thing or whether it is unique to this movie series. I think there's an element to sports movies in general that have that emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
Of the final match, the final game, the final fight, whatever. But there is something decidingly unique about the Rocky Creed movies in the way they use it. A lot of it, I think, does come down to the music and those themes from the first Rocky, from those original Bill Conti themes.
Yeah.
That are so beautiful, really, and so just the soulful almost. They sit within you as pieces of music. You can listen to the main Rocky theme that we all know, and it will make you want to go for a run. You could never, you couldn't have ran for 10 years, but it would make you want to go for a run down the street.
It's so, and then like even by the end, those kind of score moments are really inspirational and
they're beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a cheer. It's like, you feel that energy of the excitement of the win and everything and the emotion.
You really do. It's so great. And I did just want to give my own little bit on the style of the final fight as well. The fact that it is so different stylistically to every other fight we've ever seen in this movie series. Because of, like you said, it's the anime influences. I'm not massively aware of that. I just viewed this as such a brilliant way of showing the focus in these two fighters.
Yeah, and they're not thinking about anything else happening out there. It's literally just the two of them.
It felt like an expressionist movie.
Yeah, like an art piece.
It took you out of this being a movie that is generally, set in the real-ish world.
Yeah.
In the real world of boxing. But it completely took you out of there to this dreamscape, this kind of operatic, dance between Adonis and Damien, where they're bashing each other on prison cages, prison bars.
Yeah.
And fighting each other as teenagers, seeing each other in each other's corner, sat down.
Yeah, so,
when they were 16.
There's nothing in this fight but besides the two of them and their kind of pent up pain.
Yeah, because it's not like it's not Adonis wanting the belt or anything like that. That's not what this is about. This is kind of it's got to happen to stop him, to almost shut him up, but shut him up in a nice way, not like shut up and get out. It's shut up and let's have a conversation.
Yeah, shut up and listen, like so we can talk. Yeah. So
it's a wonderful movie.
Yes.
For Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut as well.
Yeah.
Well done, Michael B.
Very
Jordan.
well done. Yeah.
I mean, you're a great actor anyway, but more directorial movies from you. Don't become Charles Lawton,
and just
be a great actor who directs one
great movie.
Phenomenal movie, by the way. No discredit to Michael B. Jordan, but I do think The Night of the Hunter is a far better movie than Creed 3.
Fair point.
Creed 3 is a great movie.
I really enjoyed it. I felt all of the things we were meant to feel. Loved seeing these characters again. Their evolution felt genuine. Loved that he brought really interesting, unique things to the fight scenes. And just great performances. Jonathan Majors, Killmonger versus Kang.
Yes, and
yeah, I mean, and the king in there as well.
Yes, I'm the king.
Tessa Thompson is the king.
That, of course, she is.
Yes.
Here's one more little thing, is to put what you said, or to put in relation to what you said before about wanting to see more of Damien running his mouth and all this kind of stuff. Recently, Jonathan Majors has been in a major Marvel movie where it just became his movie rather than the actual title character movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would there have been a little bit of concern that could have just happened again if we'd have focused more on Damien?
It wouldn't be a Creed movie. Dame. It would just be a Dame movie. Yeah, that's fair.
Diamond Dame. It would have been called Diamond Dame.
Yes.
Which I think is a great nickname.
But but like I said, I think had they just played it to a sensibility of, we see him saying all these things, running his mouth, but then we also get like a quiet moment of him alone, feeling a little bit pained about it, and it coming from a personal pain as opposed to him really having this vitriol and hate for Adonis. It's more kind of his own personal struggle. And if we had gotten some just quiet scenes of him alone after kind of running his mouth, of him really just, dealing with his own emotions and really seeing where that's stemming from. I would have liked a couple scenes like that, but overall, I really felt the conflict. I was really on the edge of my seat, even though you still are pretty sure where it's going to go. You still somehow felt the tension in that fight and edge of your seat emotion that you want to feel from a movie of this style. So
you really did.
Great.
You really did.
Really enjoyed this movie. Yeah.
So did I. Applause for Creed 3.
Yay!
Yes. I mean, I didn't do a rewatch. I'll be honest with you. I didn't do a rewatch of even the Creed movies.
Okay.
So I will have to come back
to circle back
whether I think this is better.
It really informed the flow of this movie, and really kind of solidified some character things in place. And
I mean, I remembered enough. I remember
just fleshed it out. Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of putting this up against Creed 1,
for me, Creed 1 is perfect. It's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's end the show as we always like to, then, Jeannine, with some fun and games.
Yes.
And we're a little bit of a different type of fun and games today. I think, unfortunately for our audio only listeners,
apologies.
It may be perfect, but we'll try and still have fun for you. Because you are loved and viewed, and we appreciate you greatly.
Yeah,
of course we do.
I mean, when we do our typical games, it takes a lot of time of trying to figure out questions for each other and how we split up kind of the tasks of the games and all of those things, just to get a little behind the scenes information about how we do our games. But since I'm out of town and I have some things I have to get to today, I thought it would be fun for me to just kind of quiz Morgan on some things. My friend got me this really cool game, the Movie Geek game. She got it from the Academy Museum, and she knows I'm a movie person, so she saw it and thought I would love it. And it's a picture kind of game. So we have these caricatures of actors from movies, and you answer two questions. The first, who is the actor? The second being, what is the movie? So you get a point each for those.
Characters.
Yes. Not their characters. So you want to say the actor, but you want to say what movie it's from. And you get a point each for that. And then you kind of get some more deep dive trivia. So you'll get a 2-point question relating to, I think, the movie or the actor, and then another question that's like a 3-point question.
Okay.
Yes. So the goal is to get all 7 points.
Okay. Well,
Right.
let's do a few of these then. So this is my turn for a game. Next week I will have a game purely for you, Jeannine. And
Yes.
It'll be
So
fun.
I'm just pulling these cards at random.
Okay.
All right.
I'm rather looking forward to this. Let's play some fun and games. Well, conveniently.
Conveniently.
Oh. This conveniently would be. So I've got to name the actor.
Yes.
Right. So this is Sylvester Stallone. Oh, I wonder who this is, audio listeners.
And what is the title of the film?
Well, really, it could be any, but I assume it's Rocky, as in Rocky 1.
Yes, that is correct.
And not because he wears that in most movies.
He does, but
it's Stallone in the hat and the leather jacket.
And the jacket and his cross necklace, and yes, very much Stallone. Okay, now we have 2 hardcore trivia questions. This one is worth 2 points. Okay. Which city is Sylvester Stallone's character from?
This is hardcore trivia.
Oh yeah.
So if I said Pittsburgh, it wouldn't be correct. No, it's Philadelphia.
Probably not. That is correct. Okay, question 2 in hardcore trivia worth 3 points to get the full 7 points of the card. Okay. Talia Shire, who plays Adrian in the film, is part of what filmmaking dynasty?
Oh. No. Oh. Have I got this wrong or have I got this right? Is she a Coppola?
She is. Yes. 7 points for Morgan. All right.
I thought I hadn't just gone. Wait, she was in The Godfather. I haven't just assumed that she was in The Godfather for family reasons, and she actually was. So she
was. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Next card. Next character.
Next card. Ooh. 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 Actor.
Yes.
Can you zoom in? Are those earrings? No, they're not earrings. They're just his. Is that by any chance Kevin Costner?
It is. Yes. And what is the film?
Is it Dances with Wolves?
That is correct.
Yes. I like Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
It's just Avatar, but I do like it.
Yes. Hardcore trivia for 2 points. What does Kevin Costner's character name the curious wolf visiting his camp?
2 Socks, I think.
That is correct.
Yes.
And question 2 for 3 points. Who composed the film's epic soundtrack?
Oh, I don't know that. One of them, Horner or Goldsmith. It's always one of the two. Goldsmith.
Incorrect. John Barry.
John Barry. Okay.
Yes. 4 points here for Morgan.
Okay. I do like dances. You were quite impressed in you 2 Socks, weren't you?
Yes, I was. All right.
Next trivia question.
Yes. Good job.
I'm not usually good at them. Oh, Kate Winslet.
Yes.
In Titanic.
Very good. All right.
She's got the whole necklace on.
Yes. Well, she's not wearing the.
It's obviously
necklace, but
it's a good caricature. Actually, it's very.
Yes, he's carried this art is really cool. All right, 2 points there. Hardcore trivia question for 2 points. What is the name of the necklace playing an important role in the film?
Is it the heart?
Incorrect.
Is it not the heart of the sea? What is it?
The heart of the ocean.
Oh, the heart of the ocean. The ocean, the sea. It's the same thing.
Yes. 3-point question. In his Oscar speech for Best Director, James Cameron quotes Leonardo DiCaprio's character in the film. What does he say?
Well, no doubt he says, "I'm the king of the world." Sorry, my accent showed then. I said doubt instead of doubt.
Doubt. That is correct. So
yes,
5 points on this card.
5 points for that one. Okay.
Yes, because you got 3
I like
plus
this.
the 2 in the beginning, right? Isn't it a fun game?
I'll have to find a really fun game for you next week.
We'll do 3 more.
Okay.
Okay.
That is well, it might not be, because it might be from the animated original, but it's Angelina Jolie from Maleficent, as I like to pronounce it.
Maleficent. Okay, yeah. That is correct. Hardcore trivia question for 2 points in Maleficent. Maleficent.
Maleficent.
I cannot say it like that. Is a fictional character who also appears in an animated Disney film from 1959. What is the name of the film?
Well, I thought that was plainly obvious. That would be Sleeping Beauty, as I like to pronounce it.
Yes. And the 3-point question. The girl who portrays Princess Aurora as a young girl has a special relationship to Angelina Jolie. In what way?
In the movie Maleficent? I've never seen the movie Maleficent. No idea. Niece.
No, it's actually her and Brad Pitt's daughter, Vivian Jolie Pitt, who plays young Aurora in Maleficent.
I didn't even know Aurora
4 points.
Maleficent. I assumed it was just all about Maleficent and how she became Maleficent.
Yes, that movie makes me mad because it's very much, it makes you sympathize with her too much. And just no.
No.
All right. Second to last.
Okay.
Pretty obvious one.
I mean, they don't make it difficult, do they?
No, they don't.
That is Johnny Depp in Edward Scissorhands.
Yes. All right. Hardcore trivia question for 2 points. While filming Edward Scissorhands, Johnny Depp was still committed to a TV series. What is its name?
A TV? I have no idea.
Really?
I genuinely have no idea. No.
It had 2 films based on it.
I have no idea.
21 Jump Street.
Okay.
Yes. You've heard of those films, right?
I've heard of the films, yes. I did know it was a TV show, but I have no idea.
Yeah, that was like his big break, was doing that show, and he hated it. So like the last few seasons,
sure it wasn't Nightmare on Elm Street?
Well, his big break and like doing a TV show where people saw him every week.
Okay.
I mean, one horror movie where he gets sucked into a bed is like a great role, but it's not like, you got to do more after that.
He's known for it.
He is known for it, but I think he's more known for doing a TV series. But his whole kind of thing, by the end, he was kind of like fed up of the heartthrob kind of moniker that was put on him, and he wanted to be released from his contract, so he would like do things to try to get fired, and they wouldn't fire him because he was the most popular character on the
show. Johnny.
Yeah.
Being true for people even back then.
Yes. And your 3-point question. How does Edward Scissorhands at first become popular around the community?
He helps people. He cuts people's hair and he trims people's hedges.
I'll give it to you. It says he cuts hedges and gives haircuts to local dogs.
Yeah. He also cuts people's hair.
Yes, but how did it start in popularity? It was the hedges and the dogs and then the people.
He also makes ice sculptures.
Yes.
But only one ice
This
sculpture.
last one, I pulled out just a bunch, but that one's too easy.
Yeah,
the last one.
I want like a
more difficult one. Okay.
For the last
I'm gonna have to put down my microphone so I can properly look around and use both of my hands.
Okay. Do 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 do. This is game show music, by the way, everyone. Do 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 do. Jeannine's caricature game somehow picked out Rocky as the first one when we were just talking about him and his movies for half an hour. That was funny. Jeannine, do we have a final choice? Don't think too hard about it. Don't give me a stupid one. I can see your face. You might not think I can see your face, but I can.
Okay, well, this was your original last one.
Okay. Yes. I don't want
very
that.
obviously
I don't want
Jennifer
that.
Lawrence from the Hunger
Jennifer
Games.
Lawrence in Hunger Games, yes. It was.
Okay.
This one. Ooh. I'll be honest with you, it is challenging. Who is that face? That nose. The nose is familiar. Can you give me is it an old movie or a more recent movie? No.
It's a fairly recent movie.
Oh. What is the genre of the movie?
Comedy.
Oh. It's not Melissa McCarthy, is it?
Is that your answer?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Well, is it her in Bridesmaids?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Her Oscar-nominated role in Bridesmaids.
Was it Oscar nominated?
I believe she got a. I believe she got a Best Supporting Oscar nomination for.
Fair enough.
Shitting in a sink.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes. Okay. Hardcore trivia question for 2 points. In the wedding dress fitting scene, what something does not go as expected, and what is the reason?
I've never seen Bridesmaids.
Are you serious?
I don't know. The dresses don't fit, I assume.
No. They all get food poisoning.
Oh, that's right. Yes. That's why it results in what it results in.
Yes. Yeah. With poor Maya Rudolph, like, I'm shitting in the street.
Yeah.
In the street.
Yeah, we all know enough about Bridesmaids.
Yes. In the film, what is the relationship of Melissa McCarthy's character to the bride-to-be?
Cousin.
She's the future sister-in-law, so she is the sister of Maya Rudolph's groom. So Maya Rudolph is the one getting married.
Okay.
And she's her soon-to-be sister-in-law. Yes.
Lovely.
All right.
No, I like the game, Jeannine. I like that
We'll have to bring this back. Yeah, it's a fun one.
It is.
You did pretty good. You did pretty good, I think.
Yeah, thank you for... I'm not actually terrible when it comes to some things. You know, it's just the usual games we do have on Monday Madness. I'm not the best at... But there we go, Jeannine, for today's episode of Monday Madness. It is, of course, not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, nor is it the only thing we have on the YouTube channel. We do have Monday Madness, of course. We have Morgan Hasn't Seen, and we have It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. Morgan Hasn't Seen. We're talking fighting movies all throughout March.
Yes.
In honor of the release of Creed 3. Of course, we started last week with Bloodsport. We'll be talking about Southpaw this Wednesday. Jake Gyllenhaal came out the same year as Creed 1, actually. So, there you go. And on the main show, we're actually going to do a fighting movie in itself on this week's coming main show. Body and Soul from 1947.
Yeah.
So with John Garfield. So there we go. Look out for that. We like to celebrate old movies on the main show. We like to discover new old movies, which will include Body and Soul from 1947 with John Garfield. We like to show them off. We like to showcase them. We like to
also really
help
proud of
other people discover things.
Also really proud of our Black 70s film series. We got kind of a bit of love when we were talking about those films, and you know, on Twitter. We got a lot of kind of likes and people excited that we were talking these movies. So yeah, love this show for celebrating these older movies that maybe you haven't heard of. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're somebody who wants to maybe delve into the classics. There are some great ones and they deserve more love and deserve not to be forgotten. And there's even things in the classics realms that are new to us that we get to discover. Yes. So yeah, check it out. It's a wonderful podcast every Friday. Classic films. Great discussion.
And that black movie series ended last week with Car Wash 1976, that of course came out the year that Rocky came out as well. So that
it's just Rocky-filled day. Yeah,
Rocky-filled day. On this YouTube channel, though, you can subscribe. Ding your notification bell here for all the new things we have. All of Jeannine's Scream-based content, Morgan's movie collection, showing off my Blu-rays and taking you through journeys of random trains of thought that I have that makes me buy certain Blu-rays. And new release Blu-rays and these kind of good stuff as well. We showcase them, we give little reviews of them. Morgan's movie collection will continue and expand, of course it will. We also have reviews here, we have retro trailer reactions that we still do need to start up again. We also have watch-alongs, whole bunch of other stuff on the YouTube channel, subscribed in the notification bell like I said. And if you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any such way, there are links in the description for that. We can't do what we do without that generous support. We love all our patrons and donators dearly. And yeah, we can't do what we do without it. If you want to join us there, join those wonderful people there. There are links down there to do that. Or find us on Twitter. The show at It's a Wonderful One. You can find me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram and TikTok at the Purple Don. All your fighting stuff is where.
Oh. You can find me at Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can check out our merch store on teespring.com. The link is scrolling by, also in the description, so you can check it out there, or just search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. We have some really cool designs there, logos for all of our shows, including some fun Stranger Things designs, so check it out. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
Yes, well, there we go. I think it's only fitting because he wasn't in Creed 3 to do an impression of Rocky Balboa.
Well, I got the gold chain.
You've got you're actually dressed like if you had the hat on.
I know, I need
the hat. You would be dressed fairly similarly to Rocky Balboa.
Okay, oh my gosh.
Great. 2. On Adrian! It's not that bad. Bye.
Bye.